Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and this video we're breaking down Fantastic Four. Earlier in the month I watched F1, but now we've skipped the other two and just jumped straight to F4. The new Marvel movie has just released and acts as a big lead into Avengers Doomsday. This includes a massive tease at the end, and it lays the groundwork for what's gonna come. Throughout this video, we'll be breaking down the post-credit scenes, some of the Easter eggs, and where we think we'll be heading with the next Avengers. No messing about though, so let's just dive straight into it.
Are we safe? I don't know.
Okay, so the movie takes us to Earth 828, which just so happens to be Jack Kirby's birthday. There's a reference to the greater Marvel world, such as Stark on a pregnancy test, but all in all, this is a self-contained universe. In it, we watch as Galactus holds the Earth hostage and demands that Franklin Richards is handed over, or be eaten. There's a lot of scenes that revolve around dinner, but in the end, the first family stop the threat. Sue uses a force field to push Galactus towards a teleportation portal that Reed's been working on throughout the movie. Reed had proposed a teleportation network that would allow them to move the Earth safely, and humanity even comes together for this, but the surfer destroys it in the end. Teleportation is one of the main discoveries that Reed created though. It's even through this that we were introduced to the Jim version and Multiverse of Madness. So it's a big weapon in the end, but the strain kills Sue, and to make things worse, Galactus doesn't even get all the way in. Thus, Johnny puts himself forward to make the final play. However, the surfer sacrifices herself instead and finally pushes him all the way through. Throughout the film, they'd been translating the audio from dying planets, and this emotionally overwhelmed her and basically made her switch sides. As we got hints to in the flashbacks, she had a daughter, but then Galactus took her as his herald. Just like the arc of Nora and Rad, she turned against her master due to all the death and destruction. Galactus is defeated though, but Sue seems dead, and stands around and thinks about committing suicide. It's not going to work, that pun. All is not lost though, and Franklin then revives his mother, which hints to the character's incredible powers. That takes us to the major post-credit scene, and though there's two, the first one I want to focus on involves Doctor Doom. Now this scene fittingly takes place 4 years after, which is fantastic for the plot. This comes full circle from the start of the movie, where they were celebrating 4 years of the Fantastic Four.
Celebrating 4 years of the Fantastic Four.
Beginning in the Baxter Building nursery, we see Sue reading to Franklin. Reading to Franklin. The jokes are bad. Sue me! Hey, that worked! She then leaves to grab a different book, and this takes her out of the view of Franklin. Upon going back, she freezes as she sees Dr. Doom's in front of her child. Franklin has his hand on Doom's face, and Doom's holding his mask, revealing it all. Though we don't get to see the character's face, we know it's going to be Robert Downey Jr., and this has the potential for a number of different things. Clearly though, Doom wants Franklin. Now, in case you don't know, Franklin was first introduced in Fantastic Four Annual 6 in 1968. Over the years, he's been established as an Omega-level mutant who's one of the most powerful entities in the Marvel Universe. In the comics, Franklin even got so powerful early on that Reed even created a psychic dampener that basically held him back. His powers have returned during major events though, such as Onslaught, Annihilus, and Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run, which you should definitely read. Like, this builds all the way up to Secret Wars and a reset of the universe. In the comics, Franklin's created things like pocket universes, warped realities, and altered things across time and space. Because of this though, villains are really out to get his gifts and use them for their own means. As we know, Doom will be the villain of Doomsday, and this will be a multiversal level event that then leads us into Secret Wars. Recent leaks around the MCU, they've said that the original plan was to have Kang basically create the sacred timeline by removing figures like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four from it. This also included Doom and Galactus, and it allowed Kang to ascend to the throne and become He Who Remains. Whether that's the case, or whether it was the complicated rights issue around the characters, well, that's another thing, but it explains why these characters have been absent from the MCU. In the comics, Franklin's potential always drew the eyes of the Celestials, which ties him with Galactus's goals. As for Doom, well, he's got a number of things he could be after. The first thing I feel ties into his face though. Doom has got a heavily scarred face, which in some instances is because his mask had just been created, was boiling hot, and yeah, Then he put it on his face. Not the best of plans. Doom's face is a major part of the character though, and the fact he's showing it to Franklin speaks to how much he's opening up to him. I do even wonder if he's wanting him to fix his face, which was another one of the big things at the end of Secret Wars. During that, the multiverse was destroyed and God Emperor Doom pulled fragments of it together into Battleworld. However, things were eventually fixed and put together into a new timeline. They also fixed Doom's face, and I wonder if that might have been a caveat that Doom's after. Beyond that, Franklin has psionic powers, like telekinesis and telepathy. So he can not only move objects with his mind, but he can also read others and tell them to subscribe. Franklin can also generate energy and manipulate matter. Because of this, he's able to stay young, and several stories involving time travel often have characters running into him in the future. In the comics, we learn that down the line, he actually becomes somewhat of an ally of Galactus years and years and years and years into the future. Galactus views him as an equal, and the pair share a mutual respect. In the film, Galactus even sees Franklin as someone who could replace him and put an end to his eternal hunger. In Fantastic Four 604, Franklin even revived Galactus and turned him into his herald, which led into this infamous panel. Under his rule though, Galactus became a force for creation rather than destruction. When it comes to Doom though, there's 3 key examples from the comics of stories that I think they could be taking from. The first of these ran from Fantastic Four 67 up to Fantastic Four 70. There Doom was attempting to take down the family, and this is where he first became interested in Franklin. His curiosity then peaked during Onslaught in 1996. There, Franklin created a pocket universe, and come Earth X, he was influencing universal events. To me, Doom sees Franklin as someone who could be moulded to serve his wishes, and this is why he's going to him while he's being read stories. Guy clearly wants to come across like a fatherly figure, and someone who can read him stories, but all the while manipulating him. In the comics, Franklin's often manipulated in his youth because he's emotionally vulnerable. He doesn't have a full grip on his powers, and thus Doom could pretty much swoop in and take him away from his family. Now I do wonder if this is why we saw the Fantastic Four at the end of Thunderbolts. They may potentially be going into another universe with their son to flee from the threats stalking him. First Galactus arrived, and held a planet to ransom, and now we have someone like Doom with his sights on him too. It's been confirmed that Reed will lead the Avengers in Doomsday, and he may have come to this universe seeking allies or sanctuary. He may be attempting to come to a world where he can ally himself with heroes that will help protect his son from the threats that are coming after him. Let's be honest, when Reed told his Earth what Galactus was there for, they were basically like, fuck them kids. So yeah, may not be the best idea to remain here. As we know from the opening montage, he was also talking about alternate dimensions.
This equation not only confirms alternate dimensions, but it suggests parallel Earths.
Either way, I feel like Doom will likely take the child, and that's probably going to be where we end things with Doomsday. I can imagine the movie will close out with him finally getting Franklin and using him to alter the multiverse. Now, it was going back and forth on how they may handle this, and I think the fact that it's Robert Downey Jr. playing Doom, that could be a good way to manipulate the heroes. Say both like the Fantastic Four and Doom arrive on the 616, and Reed's like, hey mate, the guy's trying to take my kid, you gotta protect him. And then on the flip side of this, Doom's like, hey mate, it's me, Tony Stark, yeah, you remember me, mate, I'm the guy who saved the universe, yeah? I'm telling you, mate, these Fantastic Four are bloody bad, and you don't want to give them the kid, mate, just hand him over here. You know, that would be an incredible movie, and you could have a sort of civil war situation where some heroes side with the family while others side with Doom. Characters like Spider-Man, you know, could be easily manipulated, and I think it would add into a really interesting tug of war. I want to talk about more where I think Doomsday will take things in just a bit, but firstly, just a quick word from our sponsors. I tricked you! 2025 is now in full effect, and it feels like every single week we're living in unprecedented times. The news is like a whirlwind right now, and on top of that, we have the advent of technology. AI videos are insane, and there's so many different outlets that don't have regulation. Staying up to date with things when you don't know what the truth is can be difficult, but that's where our sponsors, Straight Arrow News, comes in. They report right down the middle with facts and don't push any bias or spin to help fuel the narrative. The site has a wide range of topics from politics to tech, but they're not trying to make you think a certain way. They also have the Media Mist tool, which lets you look at stories that are often underreported or not reported at all. Straight Arrow News are so good at delivering the news, they've been awarded by independent experts at all sides and Adfontes Media, who regularly assess the reliability of news outlets. They verified Straight Arrow as being unbiased and have awarded them with the Center Rating and Balance certification. Go to san.com/spoilers to check it out. You can subscribe through my link or scan the QR code on screen right now and download their app. When you subscribe, you not only support me, you're also supporting a group of journalists that are raising the bar on news and focused on serving you the truth. Huge thank you again to Straight Arrow News for sponsoring the video. Now let's get into the rest of the breakdown. Now, in order to talk about what Doom might be planning for Secret Wars, I think we'll have to look at what happens in the comics, Look at the comics. Doomsday obviously has a couple of meanings, with the first being that Doom will have his day where he succeeds. The day is Doom's, that kind of thing. Just like Infinity War took place over the space of about roughly a day, depending on how time moves on other planets anyway, this could see Doom enact his plan over the space of 24 hours. Beyond that, we also have Doomsday, meaning the ending of all things. Because of this, I feel like he'll be trying to wipe out the multiverse and then bring everything together into Battleworld under his rule. Now in the comics, Doom learned of these supreme beings known as the Beyonders. They sort of built off the Beyonder from the original Secret Wars that was basically a god-level entity. Doom stole its powers and the heroes then managed to defeat him. Well, he kind of defeated himself because of his own personal restraint and the need to not be completely benevolent against... Look, it's a big thing. Either way, for the second Secret Wars, Doom had learned not only of the incursions, but also the Beyonders. Throughout the multiverse, these beings had placed bombs that they could detonate to destroy the universe that this explosive was a part of. Now, when I say bomb, obviously, you think of your standard explosive. However, the Beyonders had turned Molecule Man into their weapon. In case you don't know, Molecule Man's a Nexus being, which means he's the same in every single universe. Their plan was to detonate Molecule Man, and then this would destroy the multiverse. Doom learned of this and then attempted to stop it by traveling to every universe and killing the Molecule Man that resided there. However, due to the nature of infinity, it became a pretty big job. Thus, he created a religion and indoctrinated his Black Swans to do the job for him. Worshipping the will of Rabu Malal, they travelled through the multiverse bringing doom. However, this had a knock-on effect and slowly, like marbles spreading out from point, killing Molecule Man basically, started the incursions and the worlds hitting into each other. Now, obviously, they don't have time to introduce all that for the next movie, and therefore, we're going to have to skip it. Unless we got like a Lord of the Rings exposition dump at the start that basically just repeats what I've said there in a British accent and does the exact same thing. Either way though, I kind of feel like the Council of Kangs will take over the role of the Beyonders and that Doom will kill them and take their abilities. They obviously are descendants of Reed, so it would make sense to tie that in with his grudge against the family. Well, I say descendants, obviously Victor Timely grew up in the Old West, but yeah, that's how it is in the comics. Also, we have everything going on with Jonathan Majors and getting fired, and they might not even acknowledge it. Feige has said they were planning to pivot away from Kang around the time of Quantum Mania, and apparently the Russos and Downey met with him over 2 years ago. So whether they even bring Kang back or not, I don't know, but the post-credit scene of Quantum Mania feels like something that at least needs to be acknowledged. And I think Doom showing up, killing them all, taking all their powers, it nicely puts an end to that and also shows how powerful that Doom is. Like having Thanos beating the Hulk in his first scene in Infinity War, you need that kind of thing. Because of that, I feel like Doom will likely use Franklin to either manipulate the multiverse or completely overpower the Council of Kangs and take away their abilities. Now in the comics, the multiverse was coming to an end due to the incursions, and Doom took the Beyonders' powers and salvaged what he could. In creating Battleworld, he ruled as a king, and due to the concept art leaks, it seems like that's the way they're going. I'm unsure what the copyright situation around the leaks is, but if you're here, I'm sure if you watch Heavy Spoilers, you've probably seen the concept art of Secret Wars with all the characters being in those old-timely costumes. In the comics, Doom ruled with Doctor Strange as his right-hand man, and the world was divided into different parts from all the different timelines. Everyone struggled to remember the world they were from, and they then settled into their new reality. However, a curveball came with the arrival of Reed. Slowly, he undid all of Doom's plans. Finally, they were able to rebuild things almost back to how they were, but that's when they brought across characters like Miles Morales and then put him in the 616. which is something they might be doing here as well. You might remember a couple of years ago that we reported we'd heard stories that Secret Wars was going to act as a sort of soft reboot for the universe. This has since been confirmed by Feige, who stated that that's indeed the plan. He even said that he kind of used characters like Captain America and Iron Man as sort of James Bond type figures. By that I mean they recast the character with a new actor and basically keep him around the same age. So come the end of Secret Wars, we may even get a new Iron Man and Cap with some of the other characters and actors carrying forward. Kind of similar to how, they kept the same actors for Q and Moneypenny and then had different people playing Bond. Now, you might remember in my leak video how I talked about how they were kind of aiming for a shot in Secret Wars that was sort of the same as the portal scene in Endgame. This now, though, will be all the franchises who've been owned by other studios, finally under the Marvel banner. This will be a swan song for a lot of the actors, much in the same way that Deadpool and Wolverine was for the Fox universe. They'll then create a sort of soft reboot with all the characters existing in the same universe. It'll pull the best of all worlds and basically tie everything together. We do know that Stark exists in this world in some form or another, and I wonder if they'll pull this version of Tony into the main one. If Doom looks like Robert Downey Jr., then it's going to be unlikely that Stark looks like that as well. So it'll probably be a younger actor, someone they can bring in and basically be like, this is Iron Man now. I'm also guessing there's other heroes out there as well in this universe, and yeah, they can easily do that pretty seamlessly, I think. Now there's also the potential that they could be doing Galactus versus Doom and maybe playing off the Annihilus comics. The cover here even acknowledges Doomsday and it may be Galactus and Doom fighting over Franklin. At the moment, details are sketchy, but yeah, I'd love to hear theories below. Beyond the Stark Easter eggs, we also have lots of nods to other things from over the years. We have the Mad Thinker and also get a moment where they recreate the original issue 1 cover fight against the Mole Man. Reed also fights one of Red Ghost's apes. Originally, this was going to be a much longer sequence which would have John Malkovich in the role of the villain. He appeared in the original trailer, but recently we learned that the character had been cut. According to test screenings, there was roughly a 10-minute sequence where the family would go against the villain, but that was all cut out and we get nothing beyond the ape fight. This opening montage also has a Fantastic Four cartoon, which later gets expanded in our other post-credit scene. That has more moments from that cartoon, and yeah, just a kind of fun little Easter egg. Sort of like the one from Blue Beetle, that sort of thing where it's a nothing burger but a fun Easter egg, and I can't believe I remember Blue Beetle. How long ago was it? Jesus. Beyond that, we also have Sue speaking with nations and an abandoned Seattle barrier, which ties in with Doom. Storm going into space and losing his powers is also akin to the panel that we have here. We also have Herbie in general, which not really spoke about, but that's an Easter eggy sort of thing, I guess. Also, they try and use a black hole to trap a villain, which was a bit weird, seeing that after having just watched Superman. However, in the MCU, we know that black holes lead to other universes, which is why 2 were shown at the beginning of the Loki Season 1 finale. So this might even be how the family travelled to the 616, or maybe Reed uses the teleportation tech to jump across universes. Beyond this, we actually have a cameo of the family from the original 90s movie. That never got released and was basically just done to keep the rights, but finally, they've made it on the big screen in this opening montage. You might have also noticed Timely Comics. This is what Marvel was called before changing the name in the 60s. Victor Timely was actually also a nod to that as well. Speaking of comics, Reed builds a bridge, which is what he created in Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run. In regard to the greater world, we also have WHIH News, which is a station that's constantly appeared in the MCU. We also have the ship the Excelsior, which is of course named after Stanley's famous catchphrase. When they're on it, we also get a mention of fighting space dragons, which may be a reference to the McLuhans. During the chase scene, we get lots of references to other films. Not only is there clear nods to Interstellar, which felt like Interstellar on intersteroids, but we also have it clearly giving nods to the turret fight in A New Hope. 2001 Space Odyssey gets a reference as well when we see Franklin in the womb. The thing masks the kids wear are also stuff that I'm pretty sure you can buy as a kid in real life, or an adult if you're into that sort of stuff. Lastly, we have the show hosting the Fantastic Four celebration, which unveils them like they're the Beatles. Now if you want to support the channel definitely check out our merch store right below the video. We've got 2 shirts inspired by Fantastic Four, and these include a play on the famous Saturn Eater's sun painting. Can you put the original painting up next to that and make it look great? We also have the NASA logo reworked to be the Fantastic Four one, and even the little flick thing on the NASA thing makes it a little 4 there. Jimmy Storm will have to call him for copyright reasons. Jimmy Thunder, your favourite hero. We've also just launched our Super Dog Inspired crypto one, and if you buy 3, you get 20% off. All goes towards helping videos like this get made that you're watching, and huge thank you to everyone who's picked one up. You paid for it yourself. You paid for yourself to be entertained, and I got an amazing shirt out of it too. Congratulations! Now, as for my thoughts on the movie, I kinda think this and Superman sort of encapsulate where the comic book movie genre has gone to. Used to be, we had these really earnest takes with stuff like Superman and Batman, the originals. Then we kind of went into the phase with X-Men, where they sort of try to distance themselves from comic books, all while keeping certain things in place. Leather, the leather costumes, that sort of thing. This then went to the dark gritty takes popularised by Nolan, and it got carried over into stuff like The Amazing Spider-Man. We hit a point where movies wouldn't even use their character names because the creative teams clearly thought they sounded silly. Like even Fantastic was a victim of this, and you had parts where films would constantly avoid using the character names and be like, the people are calling him this, but I think it's stupid, but that's what they're calling him, so we'll call him that. Hell, even the Fantastic Four films like Rise of the Silver Surfer, they avoided using Galactus because they thought he looked stupid. So we just got a giant gas cloud, which is mental considering that movie actually looks like it's pretty close to the source material. Like that is the thing if he was a person and they didn't have CGI. Things have kind of come full circle though to where we're back to those earnest takes that embrace the original versions of the characters. That's seen not only in Superman, but also Fantastic Four First Steps. The film really embraces the source material, and at points, it's like Kirby's imagination brought to life. Because of that, this is probably the most stylistic MCU film we've ever had. Feeling like a true 60s retro futuristic throwback, it's full of costumes that are ripped from the era, and the imaginations that they had back then thinking of what stuff would look like in the future, while all having that 60s style. Which, to be honest, I really like that they embraced it. This is up there for me with Doctor Strange in terms of how much I enjoy the visuals of a Marvel movie. Whereas that had the psychedelic mind-bending moments, this has gigantic scale, style, and a lot of things that make the movie stand out. Galactus as well is something that was really important to pull off, and when you see the character in IMAX, yeah, they did the job right. They did it! We're so back! Beyond that, the movie plot-wise feels like an early Phase 1, Phase 2 type film where it's simple yet enjoyable. It's got that Marvel humour, but also they're not constantly doing it like they are in other movies. I feel like some of the MCU stuff, they're like, people like jokes, so they keep doing jokes no matter what, but this has the restraint that they had back then. They know when to have a light-hearted moment, but also aren't trying to be a comedy. Getting the core team right was also very important, and though, yeah, I'm actually one of those people who's getting a bit of Pedro Pascal fatigue, I do think he did a really solid job. Who really shines here, though, is Vanessa Kirby, who does a phenomenal job as Sue Storm. Now, obviously, in the lead-up to this, people heard she was the focus, and thus, a lot of people said she was going to probably be a girl boss. We're at a point where the culture war is impossible to ignore, and even though I've got the word woke muted on Twitter, every day I'm still seeing this shit. Now, I'll be honest, mate, I know a lot of people get a lot of hate for even acknowledging it, but yeah, if you look at some of the recent characterizations, you can see why people have these criticisms. I don't think saying this stuff instantly makes you a bigot, and there's a lot of people who have problems with how the women are written and handled, rather than the fact that they're women. Like, you can say the girls get it done scene in Endgame's cringy without being sexist, you know what I mean? So yeah, lots of people were saying that, but Sue is such a well-written and handled character that I think lots of people are gonna vibe with what they do. They paint her as an extremely powerful woman, but she's also got her flaws. Beyond that, she's also trying to be a mother and basically save her son from things bigger than them both. There's definitely the argument of whether the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and whether someone should have to give up their child to save the world, and all the moral conflict that would spring out from this kind of choice. We also have the female Silver Surfer, which caused a lot of contention as well, but yeah, handle it really well, and I think it's probably going to quell a lot of doubts. Storm and the Thing are great as well, and I was actually surprised at how much I liked the movie. Like, if you follow the channel for a while, then you can probably tell I've lost my love for the MCU. I thought Cap 4 was pretty mediocre, and though Thunderbolts was good, it didn't quite ignite my interest again. I'm pretty much checked out of all the Disney Plus shows now, and yeah, after feeling mid on Superman, I was wondering if I was superheroed out. However, I really enjoyed this, and it reminded me of what this universe can be like when they're not just making content for content's sake. Also, the score is fantastic as well, pun not intended there. Michael Giacchino solidifies himself as the comic book composer, and this might actually be his best work. The guy's done an insane amount of comic book movie soundtracks at this point, and yeah, depending on how much you like the Batman or not though, I think this is either a solid second place or you're gonna think that it's the best. Now, I do have my criticisms of the movie, and I think there were clearly some things that could have been refined. There's a couple of time jumps where they kinda have to skip over things to get it down to that 2-hour runtime. Marvel seems to have mandated that the last couple of years, and we constantly hear about how strict they are with it. That kind of makes some moments feel like we could have had a bit more time with them, and yeah, I would have loved to have seen John Malkovich as the Red Ghost. But I'd say this is sort of your Doctor Strange, Ant-Man level, where it's a really strong starting point for these characters going forward. I know that movies like Contact, Interstellar, that sort of thing, it's being thrown around in regards to style, but I've not seen anyone mention Lost in Space. That was, of course, a 60s show as well, that then got a movie that I've heard was terrible, but I watched it when I was 10, and I loved it, so I'm never going back. I think the movie does a great job of balancing those worldwide stakes though, while also keeping things personal and locked to the family. You have the idea that the world's coming to the end, which is of course something that we can all relate to, but then we have a small, very intimate story about this family and what they're going through with their kids and themselves. Overall, this is a really great starting point for the new era of what comic book movies are going to be like. Coupled with Superman, they're both sort of interesting points to jump off from. I actually think you could watch this without even seeing the rest of the MCU and pretty quickly pick up on what's going on. I don't know, it kind of reminded me of being back in the day, and it melted that cold, cynical heart that I've grown over just having superhero project after superhero project after superhero project after another superhero project. Now, am I immediately going to go back and watch the MCU shows I skipped? Nope. Am I going to be more excited for Doomsday though? Yeah, and I am hoping this is continuing the turning point that I felt with Thunderbolts. But it was good, I had fun, I was emotionally invested, and I'll cash that check from Disney and actually go back to this for a rewatch, which is high praise from Kevin's Spoilers. Put that on the box. Paul from Heavy Spoilers would actually watch this recent MCU movie more than once. In the end though, yeah, really solid movie. I think it's kind of your perfect summer flick, and yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I'll say it's good. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Anyway, that wraps up the breakdown, and huge thank you to everyone who's watched this so far. You've been fantastic.
Say that again?
Either way, yeah, thanks for checking it out, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the film. Please drop a like on the video, and also drop a comment with your thoughts below. If you want to follow us on Instagram as well, then make sure you check us out at Heavy Spoilers. Did you know that members of the channel, you also get early access to videos? If you click the join button, you get at least one breakdown a week before anyone else. Costs just 99 cents a month, really means a lot to us, and it basically means, yeah, you get early access to videos, we take £1 from you that you'll never see again, but you get to enjoy yourself, so thank you. And yeah, check out our breakdown on screen right now. We've just done ones for the new Predator trailer, lots of other Predator stuff, Superman as well, and yeah, lots of things if you're bored and you need something to do, because you're here, so you must be bored at least a bit, mate. Go on, admit it to yourself. Treat yourself to some visual editing and a video of a British man in a British accent. You'll love it. Anyway, take care. Peace, mate. Peace. I love you.